Hello and welcome. I am Michelle Calloway, your host. I'm the founder and CEO of Revelio Software and Media Solutions, and I am here with you today on the Tech with Heart show talking about how to quickly hire VAs so that you can scale your business. And so with me today, I have a very interesting young man who has proven this model about how to quickly hire VAs. His name is Brady Morgan. Thank you so much, Brady, for coming on here and sharing with us how you've overcome a lot of obstacles. So welcome to the Tech with Heart show, Brady Morgan.
Hey, Michelle, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I am delighted that we're talking about this topic right now because as we have seen an influx of more businesses doing work online, they're not so much in their storefronts anymore. They're actually trying to get more business online. How intense the need is for them to find VAs, virtual assistants, or even just work with their own team remotely. And you said when I met you that you've experienced a lot of failed hires. And so let's talk about how important that is to hire slow, somewhat slower than you fire, because I heard that there's a huge difference. You need to make sure that you hire after vetting, and that's something that your team does, and then fire quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So a big thing about what we focus on at my company, Virtual Assistant Staffing Agency, is the vetting process. Because what we've seen in the past is if you hire too quickly, if that vetting's not there, you tend to have to fire pretty quickly as well, which yes, fire quickly if you see that disconnect with that person. But the reason we got into this and the reason we believe that is at a previous business model we did. It was all about finance. I won't get too deep into it, but I had my first taste with virtual assistants. And we got a virtual assistant very quickly. We paid her $2.50 an hour, and she was terrible. She was not good. But I was like, why is she so bad when people are so excited to work with virtual assistants? Why is that a model if we're having such a bad experience with it? And it came down to the vetting. What they did, this company, is all they did was say, hey, here's someone that we found that's within your price range that can do the task that you're looking for, and that's all you need. Well, Michelle, it's more than that. You really have to vet not only are they able to do the task at hand, but do they have the experience? Do they have the English proficiency? Do they have the character? And so that's why we focus on it so heavily within Virtual Assistant Staffing Agency is we have to hire slower. We really have to vet and see meticulously what this person is capable of to really make sure they're a good person for the client's job. So that is why I think we differentiate ourselves, is because of our process, which I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. But our process is just really, let's just focus on only having to hire this position once and letting this person be your forever employee if that's what you want.
I love that you're going about it differently, because I know there's a lot of VA companies out there that we can all go and shop into their resources for different systems, training, whatever it is that we need help with at the time that we need the help.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really love about what you said when I first met you too, that made me want to get you on here and interview you, is the fact that you actually could help us find that one person that is multifaceted as well. And so one of my struggles as a small business owner is that I have a digital media background. I have publicity background. I have a lot of talents myself, and I would just love to clone myself, because then I would just be off to the races for sure. But when you have to look at breaking down what I've been doing as I've been building my small business, and now trying to find one person to do all of those tasks and have that quality of level of skill, has just been not existent actually.
Right.
But I do know that they're out there. I just don't know how to find them. And you mentioned that you can go after somebody that does have multiple talents and skills, so that you are only needing to hire one VA that can do possibly 4 or 5 things. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so that's actually a question we get a lot, and we try to do that to the best of our abilities. So let me talk to something that's actually more recent for us. We have a client that's in the real estate space, and they have one social media manager. They needed another social media manager as well as a copywriter. Well, I said, hey, listen, I think we can knock. I know you need two social media managers because the work is too much, but I really think we could have one person doing everything, right? And copywriting and social media manager are kind of in that same realm to a degree, but they're two completely different skill sets, and it requires two different types of thinking. But I said, I really do think we can find this person. So we went out, and sure enough, we found somebody, right? We found someone that was primarily competent in copywriting, and then they're able to also do social media management. So I think the key there, Michelle, is when you're trying to find something that's multifaceted, you have to look at, okay, what does the client want out of this person? And out of what the client wants, what is the hardest thing to do, right? If you're saying, hey, I need someone who can do lead gen, video editing, social media management, and also be an administrative assistant, well, the hardest thing out of all of those is video editing. Not everyone has that expertise, but lead generation, administrative assistance, and social media management are all pretty easily taught, right? So when you look at it from that approach, you're able to make, I'm able to make my life easier saying, hey, I'm only focused on video editors, people who have video editor as a primary skill, and we can focus on everything else. But I like the idea of having people who have multi talents, because I think that person's really able to grow with you, right? And not everybody wants that 5-person team, right? And not everyone can afford that 5-person team either. So when you're saying, hey, I need someone that can do a few different things, absolutely, we can find it. And the goal is to just not only find the people that have these skill sets, or the hardest skill set at least, but character is huge for us, right? We need someone that's able to be teachable, able to be flexible, and able to do things that's not necessarily in their wheelhouse. So a lot of times when we're giving these applications out, not only do we test on English proficiency, that's a whole different story, but we test on character, and we make sure that based off how they test within this character section of our application process, are they going to be a good employee just foundationally, right? And if they pass that test, we say, okay, if they were asked to do something that was outside of their wheelhouse, would they be comfortable with it, and would they be flexible enough to actually attack it, right? And that's a huge pain point we've solved for a lot of people, because like I said, not everybody has the capital to just pay whoever to be on their team. They really just need one person to be with them, and to grow with them.
No, absolutely. That's just been, I guess, some of the biggest pain points that I personally have experienced is that, finding the one or the two, the magic one or the two.
Mm-hmm.
And because you invest in so much of your time training them that you really want them to stick around, but you also want them to be adaptable to a certain level. Of course, you need to be realistic. The reason I have all this background is because I was trained in all those things, but not everybody is trained in all those things. So that's just one of the reasons why I was really excited about bringing you on, is because what you do and how you more or less headhunt for businesses to find that one diamond, right? Or that two gems that a company can bring on board that would take care of 8 different types of assistant type needs, or assistance type needs. I really liked that model, and you do it for them. So if a business owner is really super busy, overwhelmed at the idea of having to go and do all this searching, testing, um, you know, seeing, if it's a good cultural fit, seeing if it's their personalities right, it's exhausting. Actually, it's very exhausting and overwhelming. And for those small businesses are starting to scale, they need somebody, and they need somebody now. They just don't have the time. So that's one of the things I really liked about your process. So can you explain a little bit more what is all involved, and if we went with you versus some other VA system, what is uniquely different about your system?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on a point of the previous question, so I think it's good to find those people that are multifaceted, right? Because I think that can really help you scale and help someone grow with you. Now, what we suggest is as your business does scale and you have that capital, it is smart to have someone that's only a video editor, that only does, data entry for you, that only does bookkeeping for you. And that's as you scale. So it's such a gray area, and you never really know when the right time is. But that's why we're here to say, hey, I think you're ready to branch these two positions out and have one for each, right? But when you're just starting out, It's really good. They call it a general virtual assistant. It's really good to have that general virtual assistant to really just be your backbone and do everything that you don't want to do or don't know how to do. But as far as our process and how we differentiate ourselves, so there's several different models that come into play with virtual assistants. The first one, and you kind of touched on it earlier, is basically the subscription based sites. So you'll go to like an online jobs or a free up and you pay them for a monthly subscription, and you're able to see basically Philippines is where we source out of, but Filipinos who have basically created profiles with this platform. You can go, you can see their resume, you can see their expertise, you can contact them, but that's it. You are fully responsible for the vetting, the interviewing, but you paid very little money to have access to these people. Now, that is good for people who have the time to vet an interview and don't have the money to do anything else. Maybe they're like just starting out, right? The next model is basically where you are using another company's virtual assistants. So this model is pretty typical. It's probably the most popular nowadays, but basically you pay a company a premium over their virtual assistants hourly rates, and you get access to them for a certain amount of hours per week or per month, and you're just paying that premium rate. Now that's fine for people who have the money and don't have the time. But the issue we've seen with those is we preach that virtual assistants are anywhere from $4 to $8 an hour. Now, these companies that you're paying to use their virtual assistants will typically probably charge anywhere from $10 to $20 an hour. So that sounds great in retrospect, but you're only getting a certain amount of hours with them per week, and you are not their only client. So they are working with multiple clients through their agency. And the downfall is, Michelle, if you said, say you have a video editor through them, hey, I need you to edit this video first thing in the morning. And they're going to say, well, sorry, you're, my third client of the day. I can't get to you first. That's going to be frustrating, right? Because you're like, it's speed wins when in business. So you have to get that stuff done quickly. Now, our model is different from all of these. Our model is for people who don't have the time and also have the money, but are willing to put up that upfront capital. So we charge a placement fee, but we do all the headhunting, all the vetting, all the interviewing for you. We basically place a client in your business for you, help onboard them and everything, and that person is your employee. Meaning that you're going to pay them their true hourly rate, anywhere from $4 to $8 an hour. They're going to be yours whenever you need them. Whenever you need them to work, they're going to work for you. Whatever you need them to do, they're going to do it for you. And you're going to have their full attention. And the reason we love that full-time employee model is because if you want someone to grow with you, it's really hard when they're working with other clients as well. It's really hard to get them ingrained in your business, ingrained in your goals, ingrained in your mission, because they have so many other things to worry about. They're only worried about doing the tasks that you've asked them to do, right? So that's where we differentiate ourselves. If you're really trying to build a team around you, that's why I preach our agency is the best, because we're going to help you build that team, that actual team that works for you and only you. Now, if you only need project-based work, which that happens to us every now and then, if we need videos edited, we don't need a full-time video editor because it doesn't happen all the time. But you can go, maybe you find a virtual assistant and say, hey, I'm going to work with you and only you when I need videos edited. So you kind of get a feel of their style and everything. But then that kind of goes back to the model of you're working with someone whose full attention is not on you. So you really kind of have to see of how you want this team to be around you. And if and when you're ready to build an actual team to be with you for as long as you want them to be with you, that's why I think our process is the best.
Being able to do business online is crucial for survival, especially during times of social distancing. So how do you survive and thrive in the sea of digital noise? It's a lot like fishing. You need to know who your perfect customer is so that you can use the right kind of lure to attract them. We help you catch your perfect customer and retain them for future sales through highly converting websites, influencer mobile apps, getting you featured in the news and on TV. Hi, my name is Jerry Bowden, U.S. Army veteran and president of Revealio Software Solutions. Our goal is to help you rise above the competition, be seen as an expert authority in your industry, and embrace technology to stay competitive for long-term success. It's more affordable than you may think. So reach out to us at Revealio.com, and together we will make your business come alive.
I really do. I loved your model, and I think that it's so important for people to know about you because your model isn't the norm. I've heard of many of those other models. The first one is specifically about, paying a monthly fee, and then of course, you're paying for the VA, but the company is also tacking on a little bit on their hourly rate so that they're able to support it because they've already done a lot of the headhunting and now they're just
Right.
making it affordable. But mostly from what I've seen on those is that you're looking at hiring VAs that are more geared towards one or two things, not necessarily a multifaceted VA. And
Right.
go ahead and share with us a little bit about, I know you mentioned the Philippines. Can
Mhm.
you speak to why you do all of your headhunting in the Philippines?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we got our first virtual assistant, she was from the Philippines. Now, I didn't know why. I just said, okay, maybe the Philippines is just, cheap labor, but I know there's cheap labor in Ecuador, there's cheap labor in India, there's cheap labor in Brazil. But something that we found, and it was a stat, is that the Philippines ranks very high. I think it's number 13 in the world when it comes to English proficiency. And they are also coincidentally the cheapest country out of those top 13, right? So when you put those two things together, it just makes sense, right? Can you work with people in India? Absolutely. We're working with the development team right now of India for a software we're creating, but that's their expertise. I think India has that more technical expertise, but when you're looking for that everyday just employee, that everyday backbone of your company, the Philippines is the way to go because they speak English very, very well. And without that communication channel, it's not as efficient and they're cheap. And I think people have this misconception of like, oh, I'm paying them $48 an hour. I feel bad about that, but we've done the research and we know that $48 to us is really nothing, but $48 an hour for them is a lot and it helps their family out a lot. So it kind of makes you feel good, right? You're like, okay, if I give you $1 raise, I'm changing your life, whereas in the US, if someone gave you $1 raise, you're like, screw you, that doesn't mean anything to me. So the Philippines, we if you had to narrow it down to one thing that matters the most, I would say it's English proficiency because you're working with someone that's able to communicate with you on a very, very high level. And it just makes everything easier as a result.
I'm glad you brought up that point about, the hourly rate and how we Americans would tend to look at that and feel kind of bad about it. But really over there, it's, you compare it to the culture, you compare it to what people would make that's good money over there. And to speak to that as well, there's, a lot of American companies that want to support America. America's hurting really bad right now. And, it is hard to find American help at a rate in which startups or younger companies can indeed afford, especially if you're looking at going with a full-time assistant,
Mhm.
virtual assistant. So this is an opportunity for you to get your feet underneath you as a business, as your scale.
Mhm.
You can always hire US help as you grow. But this is a really great way to at least get started to scale to the capacity where you can bring on full-time US people. US people, they just cost more to live here. There's just the whole overall economy is just different. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
we're not suggesting you outsource everything forever. This is just a really great model to get your business going. And I know a lot of small business owners, that's what Tech with Heart's all about, is empowering small business owners to be successful in a digital era. And so this is a really great way to build some teams and learn a ton about yourself, your business culture, your business culture, and what you see yourself being like 5-10 years down the road, right, Brady?
Right. And if I could actually interject, this is actually super relevant. I just filmed a YouTube video yesterday about it. But we're kind of on the topic of cost right now. And I did a quick cost comparison. So once you get it out of your head, like, okay, $48 an hour is good for them. I promise you, we've done the research, $48 an hour is great for them. Now, when you compare that to a US based employee, because people are still going to have the issue, okay, well, they're remote, they're in technically a foreign country. Even though they speak good English, I'm only going to be communicating with them via Zoom. Do I trust them? And we test for all that through the character assessments and the test we give them in the interview and all that sort of good stuff. But let's look at a cost comparison real quick. The median salary of US based employees in 2020 was $50,000. Now, of course, $50,000 goes a lot further in like in Alabama than it does in California, but that was just a median salary. Now that's $960 a week, roughly. Of course, that's pre-tax, but let's just assume pre-tax real quick. We practice what we preach at Virtual Assistant Staffing Agency. So the entire back end of our business is run by virtual assistants, right? Our entire fulfillment process, all of our bookkeeping, all of our lead generation, it's all virtual assistants. Now we have 4 virtual assistants. We have 3 full-time and 1 part-time. That's a total of 140 hours a week that we get from virtual assistants. Now, what I'm about to tell you of how much we pay them for on a weekly basis total is crazy. We pay $640 for 140 hours worth of work a week. That equates to $4.57 an hour roughly, versus paying $960 a week for a US-based employee, and you get 40 hours worth of work. So in that when you say, okay, $48 an hour sounds great, but when you dig deeper and you look at that cost comparison, you're like, well, yeah, it's a no-brainer. I get 100 more hours for $300 less a week. Absolutely. That's when it starts to make sense for people. And they say, okay, let me look at my capital. I only have $10,000 to spend this month. What are you going to spend it on? Are you going to spend it on one US-based employee? Or are you going to spend it among 4 or 5 or 6 virtual assistants that can help you scale even quicker? Right. So I think when you get that out of your head and realize the investment that you're making, it's great. And something I mentioned before is taxes. So of course, when you have a US-based employee, if they're a W-2 employee, you owe what's called payroll taxes. Now, what that is you pay into something called FICA, which is Social Security and Medicare. And when you're a W-2 employee, you pay 7.65% of your gross income into that. It's just automatically taken out. Now, your employer is responsible for 7.65% as well of your gross income. Now, when you're a business owner, you're responsible for that full 15.3%, what's known as self-employment tax. When you work with a virtual assistant, you don't owe any taxes. And the beauty of it is they're your full-time employee. They're almost like a W-2 employee, but you don't owe any taxes on them because they are a foreign individual. And I talk about this in the YouTube video as well, and we have it in our VA University, and we talk about it a lot, but it's an IRS form called W-8BEN. It's something the VA fills out just saying I'm a foreign individual working on foreign soil for an American-based company, and I'm not working on American soil. And that relinquishes you from paying any taxes for that person. Now, of course, they have to actually be foreign. You can't, mess with the IRS, but that's the beauty of it. Not only are you paying less hourly, but you don't owe any taxes, right? And that's the biggest downfall, I think, financially for business owners. As you scale, you just pay more and more and more taxes. So it's just something to think about, right? There's more to the making sense financially than just $4 to $8 an hour.
Yes, and I want to speak to something too that I personally experienced. And so I'm assuming if I experience it, other small businesses are experiencing it. And that is that it does take a little bit of time, obviously, to put systems in place so that your VAs can understand everything that they need to do. And so it's fairly seamless so that there's less error margin.
Right.
And I personally do not like that part of hiring a VA, because I wish that the VA would create the system for me, because I just need to be able to talk and tell them, what I need done, and I just want them to do it. But there is an investment of your time, and I know, Brady, you can talk a little bit about, I think you mentioned that your team helps with some of those. We call them SOPs, or standard operating procedures, because nobody can read your mind, unfortunately. And so it's really, the value is to take the time to do it once, do it well enough to let the VA have a good chance of being successful for you, and then ask them to sharpen it up as they find things that that can be done a little bit better or differently, or even create more efficiency within the system. So can you speak to that and what your team does to help us entrepreneurs with that?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of people will hire a virtual assistant and then just expect things to magically work, right? You have to put in the work to make it work. But the beauty of it is you put in the work once and it should theoretically, work by itself for the rest of time. So what we do at Virtual Assistant Staffing Agency is we understand that not everybody's an expert at creating SOPs. And for those that don't know what an SOP is, it's just a fancy way of documenting how to do a certain task, right? Steps 1 through 10, do it this way, this way, this way, this way. Now, a lot of business owners that we've talked to, I'll say, hey, where is your SOPs? And they say, oh, they're all up here. I say, well, fortunately, your VA cannot read your mind, like you said. So you need to somehow document that. Maybe you do a screen recording, maybe you write them down by hand, whatever you have to do, get that out of your head so you can teach. Now, We understand that's harder for people to do than most. So we assist in that SOP creation process. So what we'll do is we'll place the virtual assistant with you, and then we actually offer an hour consultation where we'll help you onboard the virtual assistant. There's a contract that has to be signed, some tax forms that have to be signed. Typically takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. And the rest of the time we'll help you outline some SOPs. Say, hey, what SOPs does this VA need to know how to do? Right? Do they need to know how to upload content to a social media scheduler? Do they need to know how to edit a certain piece of code for this app you're developing? Do they need to know how to edit videos correctly? Do they know how to do lead generation or cold email, whatever? Let's create those SOPs together if you don't already have them, right? And let's quickly do it, right? And I'll be here to kind of help you have that framework. And then once I'm gone, you'll have the tools you need to kind of fill in the blanks, right? And I think the beauty of that is not only are you only doing that once, you're giving it to your VA to do, and they're going to have less questions. But as your VA grows with you and your team, they're able to iterate upon that SOP, right? And that's why we preach the full employee model, because why in the world would a project-based person care about helping you make your SOPs better? They don't care, right? And that's why we like Fiverr and Upwork. I'm not going to rant about them, but they're great for a lot of things. But the only thing that people from Fiverr and Upwork care about is finishing the job. That's it, because that's how they get paid, is finishing the job, right? Whereas for a VA, if they want to continue to stay employed, that's a full-time employee, they got to put in a little bit more extra effort, or they could potentially be replaced, right? So that's why we love that model, because they're going to grow with you, they're going to help you scale, and ultimately they're going to be that, hopefully running things behind the scenes without you even knowing. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate too, for those of you who are tuning in just now, or you've been watching this whole time, the idea here is to help your business to scale. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to find yourself having different needs on different timelines. And whether you do the monthly subscription or go to resources like Fiverr and just do a one-off project, it's really up to you. But I just wanted to introduce you to Brady, because he's bringing a model to the table for those of us who are at that point of scale. We are ready to just blow up big, and we need it to happen quick. And so he would be a perfect fit for that type of scenario. If you need somebody that's super qualified, that they do the vetting for you, so you don't have to spend any of your precious time doing all of that part of the process. They'll even help you create the systems for that VA so that you are all completely taken care of for the most part. He does his model where you pay a placement fee, and then you are only paying the VA just the low, the low $4 to $8 hour rate for somebody that could be a full-time employee. Just imagine what that would look like for your business. Imagine what did you say, 140 hours a week?
Having somebody $640 total for that.
Yeah, so having somebody working on your business for 140 hours a week plus whatever time you're putting in, just imagine what that would look like for your business in 6 months' time.
And what's crazy, Michelle, is we've met people who virtual assistants run their email. They don't even touch their email anymore, which I know is the biggest time suck for business owners, is just constantly opening your email. Do I have a new email? Who do I need to respond to? They don't touch their social media at all, which is another huge pain point for people. No one likes social media, but it's obviously relevant and it's necessary. If they have some sort of back-end process, like for us, we have a fulfillment process. So we vet very hard, very, very hard. Getting the applicants is not the hard thing. It's getting them to go through the entire application. So our entire application probably takes about 30 minutes, but it has, I'd say, 50 different questions just around, hey, upload your resume, take this English proficiency test, answer these situational questions. Then we interview them, then we grade them, then we weed out the ones who aren't working, we further evaluate. That is all done by virtual assistants. I do not touch it. And we have automations in place that I've set up that make it just make sense and it works. If I had to do that myself, I would probably pull my hair out. That process is so, there's so much, it can make you so overwhelmed so fast. And there's no direct ROI of vetting applicants because only one is chosen, right? So why would I spend my precious time, hours at a time, vetting applicants when I know only one of these people is going to make sense, right? But I have to vet all of them. So that's why I have a team doing it for me. So when you put that to paper, you start thinking about, okay, what am I doing in my business that I do not want to be doing at all? I promise you can outsource it for $4 to $8 an hour.
Yeah, I love this. So Brady, so if somebody is interested in your model versus going over to the monthly service fees for other services, where do they go and how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either email me directly. It's just brady@vastaffing.agency. We are currently revamping our entire website. Our old website is still up. It's just vastaffing.agency. But if you see two different logos, don't think there's a disconnect. It's the same thing. There's a lot of rebranding going on. But yeah, you can reach out to me directly, Brady@vastaffing.agency. Or go to the website vastaffing.agency, or you can even reach out to me via Instagram or Facebook if you're more comfortable. My Instagram handle is @BradyMorgan_, and then just search for Brady Morgan on Facebook and you should see my face pop up somewhere.
Well, congratulations too on being a new daddy this year.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to
Appreciate it.
that in there. You just got a brand new little baby boy. And if you do happen to reach out to Brady, just let him know you heard about him from Tech with Heart. And we would like to also let you know that if you are an expert and you have a beautiful system in place that's proven and that it's crushing it and it's helping entrepreneurs grow quickly or just grow their business, or how they can use technology to help them enhance their personal and professional relationships, we are all about that. So you're welcome to reach out to me, Michelle Calloway. You go to techwithheartnetwork.com, and we'd be happy to see if you're a good fit to be interviewed on our show. But I want to just thank Brady today for coming on here and sharing this incredibly different and unique and powerful business model for how you can fast track and quickly hire quality VAs to help your business scale. So thank you, Brady.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it.
And thank you for listening. And until next time, have a great day. And here's to your success. Bye-bye.